Why, hello folks. Look at this. We got a new boy. We got Warframe number 45, Lavos, and I'm gonna go more in depth with this guy in the coming days. Gonna go through like builds, how to use him. Definitely gonna explore what we can do with him in the helmet system, both donating his ability and just what we can subsume into him. Definitely want to check out Lavos for that. But for now, we also have to learn a bit of lore about him. We have to learn who this guy is, and for that reason, we have to look at his new Leverian entry, which he's already gotten, and I will also show you in the end where you can find his Prex card. Now remember, to find a Prex card, you have to own the Warframe, and you have to have mastered it. Until you have done that, the Prex card will be invisible and you can't find it. So, if you can't find the Prex card, hey, maybe that's the reason. But we'll get to that. But first, let's check out the man himself.
Lavos, the Transmuter, called by some, anachronistically, the Alchemist. Transmutation, you say? A superstitious process from long ago in which deranged old men heated stinking substances over fires of dung, thinking they could make gold? No. To the awoken, it was a darkly potent, forbidden science. They were not squeamish, nor moral. So what profound taboos must this art have violated? No transmuter was more dreaded than Yavi, the crawling serpent, the abhorred, the filth speaker. The awoken feared him so greatly that they whispered he might somehow survive even the Jade Light, just as a severed snake was once believed to grow a new head. So instead, he was imprisoned that his evil might be contained, if not quenched. His jailer was a brute of a Warframe named Lavos.
Huh. So, I guess Lavos was not originally the Alchemist Warframe or the Transmuter Warframe. He served a different purpose, but he has been transmuted. I guess that makes sense.
The prison of Dabaoth Kra no longer stands. Both it and the slumped Venusian mountain peak upon which it stood were long ago obliterated. We have only records to tell us what went on there. Yavi was a scrawny, hairless man, scaly with skin disease. In reluctant recognition of his Archimedean status, he was permitted to wear the white robe, now a befouled, ragged garment. 2 tattooed serpents crawled up each bony arm from elbow to wrist. Lavos, we are told, was attentive to his prisoner. He administered the prescribed soup, water, and beatings with the same punctual fidelity. These are recreations of Lavos's own snakes. No mere tattoos, but living, bioferrous exoflesh.
Alright, so Yavi was an Archimedean. I mean, in the awoken. Margulis was also an Archimedean.
Observers at the prison reported that Yavi was frequently whispering to Lavos. There was some concern among the wardens, but they dismissed the whispers as mere posturing. Yavi's cell walls began to fill up with scrawlings, using blood and filth as ink. At first, these were simple symbols, but as time passed, they became more elaborate. It was as if the Archimedean was turning his cell into a demonic temple, baiting his captors. There was even an image of Lavos, resplendent in his cyan-dana of office. Perhaps an attempt at a curse. Lavos was ordered to beat him harder, and duly did so. With the blood on the wall, Yavi drew a snake, an appeal, no doubt, to his depraved idol. Floor washer Bekran Zaft, the sole survivor of Dabaoth Kra, would later tell of how Lavos would stride from cell to cell, weighty shotgun in hand, clubbing and beating as required. The nightmares still haunted her.
Good lord, good lord. Well, that's something indeed. So, it's interesting, the idea that the awoken, this guy was obviously a convicted of have done something, but not being sent to the Jade Light because for some reason they thought it wouldn't work and he would somehow survive. Maybe being able to mind transfer through continuity, who knows. So instead they just imprisoned him. So it's interesting that the awoken, like, because otherwise when you look at like Margulis and stuff like that, the Jade Light is always seen as like the final thing, where nothing else, works, or nothing else is appropriate. Then you just, it's the eternal death, right? Otherwise, an awoken can just mind transfer to a new body, but being sent to the Jade Light, I guess, burns your soul. Oh man, not with this guy though. Let's find out more.
The Warden's records reveal an increasing unease with Yavi's bizarre behavior. Regardless of the potential risk, they determined that he should be executed. After a fashion. They would use cellular reversal. Yavi would be reduced to a mere biological pulp with no more sentience than bread mold. But the executioner, no jailer wanted to be the pobber to bell that cavat. So Lavos received this ceremonial helm, along with the power to reconfigure organic matter. He could be their instrument. The walls, floor, and ceiling of the cell were, by now, overwritten with text. Lavos watched over Yavi continually. Bekran Zaft tells us that, curiously, Lavos no longer beat the prisoners in the other cells. Even when the inmates shoved one of their hated fellows into his path, expecting a bloody beatdown, Lavos merely waited for him to get back to his feet before moving on.
So obviously, it's all part of the plan. All these sneaky awoken, I guess, wanting Lavos to be transformed into this, but for what reason?
What actually was this forbidden practice of transmutation that terrified the Orokin so? At its pinnacle, it was nothing less than the purposeful elevation of consciousness. To the Orokin, prisoners of their endless golden dream, the thought that a person could rise above their station was anathema. Transmutation could turn commoners into kings, or riches into garbage. Worst of all, it could teach people not to be afraid. I have seen a preserved image of Yavi's cell. His scrawlings were not demonic sigils and barbarous texts, but star charts, evolutionary trees, genome structures. Yavi was not defying Lavos with these cryptic daubings in his own blood. He was enlightening him. Not dark sorcery at all, but radiant science. And the snake? A symbol not of corruption, but of healing. Yavi was a teacher. He might have taught millions. Now he had only one student. But that student was attentive.
How about that? So, the art of transmutation, as it were, is the art of knowledge, of learning, transmuting people into becoming greater than they were. And, the Orokin, the ultimate incarnation of late-stage capitalism, as it were. Nah, that's a discussion for another time. The Orokin are actually not depictions of capitalism at all. The Corpus are. We'll get to the Orokin, but that's for another video.
Bekran Zaft says this of Execution Day. The jailers gathered in the auditorium with a slow, funereal tread. Lavos escorted Yavi to the execution dais. He gently raised a hood over Yavi's head, cobra-like. He turned, then, to face the Orokin Warden, shotgun trembling in his mighty hands. The silence, Zaf says, was absolute. But then, from beneath the hood, came a whisper. Yavi had some final words for his student. The Orokin jailer shifted uncomfortably, looked to his functionaries. Would the execution even take place? Lavos gave a stiff bow to Yavi and activated his power. Yavi's skin peeled off in one grisly sloughing. He liquefied into a biological soup. A cheer went up from the assembled jailers. Lavos gathered the remains of Yavi tenderly in his hands. A soft glow emanated from them, as, in one horrible moment, Yavi's Orokin oppressors realized what they beheld. And then, panic. Lavos was transmuting the remains. A twining, living snake seethed up Lavos's left arm. Yavi, transformed, and still, after a fashion, alive, just as they had feared. A second snake coiled around his right arm, this one sprouting from Lavos's own flesh. Then, Lavos leapt into the midst of the assembly, hurling vials left and right, bathing the hapless, screaming jailers and functionaries and their warden in icy vitriol. Not one survived. Not for long, anyway. And Bekran Zaft? Lavos bowed to her and moved on.
Oh, how about that? So the snakes on Lavos' arms, at least the left snake, that's Javi. You can see him here, coiled around his arm. See from the front as well. There he is. Hi, Javi. And they slither around on his model, which is neat.
They say that Lavos often takes counsel from his serpents. One is his brutal advisor, the other his wise teacher. Both have their wisdom, and Yavi still whispers to his beloved student. Much like the snake, Lavos is easy to misjudge. The serpents that poison can also cure. He may have been a monster in his previous life, but he was able to achieve something that eluded the most powerful of the Orokin. He changed. Moreover, he changed himself. Yavi may have helped and instructed, but the will to change must have begun with Lavos. Perhaps we all have that golden gleam coiled within us somewhere, ready to slither forth from its old skin. We must only beware that we do not condemn as devilish that which we do not yet understand.
How about that? Well, that's a bit interesting that it's a Warframe that voluntarily took on a different role than the one it was constructed for. It's fascinating. Wonder what that's gonna, imply for Lavos Prime when he shows up 3 or 4 years from now. Anyway, time to do the final thing that we came here to do, which is find his Prex card. They're always so sneakily hidden, and this one was sneakier than most. I'm impressed by how they find new ways to hide them. So, here's where it is. See this here donation box? If you go up close to it, you get the donation prompt here. But if you go a bit closer, you get a different prompt. And there it is. That's his Prex card, which after you found it will now become a decoration that you can place in your orbiter. Ain't that something? I think that's something. That's neat. And that's the lore. But, coming up next, some more in-depth stuff about this. It's the latest addition to the game. He's kind of cool. He's got cool abilities. He's quite rad, and we're gonna delve into detail on this guy. It's gonna be fun. Hi, Yavi. How you doing, Yavi? Oh, that's a good snake.